Hello and welcome to the quote creation walkthrough. How do you create a quote in CQ? So it's pretty simple, really. Uh, so once you have a project created, which you can do with the new project here, you'll be able to create a quote inside. And here's how it goes. So let's pick a project we have. This is a brand new account. There's nothing much going on in there. I've already created a quote in this one, but let's create another one. So the process is pretty simple. You can click on the plus here. You can either duplicate a quote that you have already done. Maybe you did some work on the street and all the houses are the same, and then the neighbors, start to approach you to have a quote of their own. So you can duplicate the initial quote and just, you know, uh, start from there. So that's pretty easy, but let's create a new quote from scratch. So if I create a new quote, I'm going to be presented with that screen. There's a lot going on there. So here you have the quote number. This is automatically assigned by the software. You can change the sequence if you want to. The project here, so you can go back to the project if you want to. Client information, building information, all the quote information here. You have the activities. So the same thing as all the pages in C-Cube, you can have the notes, the follow-ups, and the tasks. You can have all that, but now this is targeted only on the quote. And then you have communication. So this is when you send the quote by email, it's going to show up in there. We'll see that in a bit. And then description and terms. My account is brand new. I don't have any terms defined, but you can define the terms in the preferences quote section, and you can define some terms in there. And you can put here a description in terms. You can put a general description for the quote, or you can put a simple title for the quote, depending on what you want to do. It gives you the options to do that. So you just click the edit button there, and off you go. You can edit the terms and the description. As I said, the terms will be automatically copied from your preferences if you have any. So just check that beforehand. And now you have the main section, is where you actually put the work you're gonna do for the project. So the section is quite simple. You have the header there with you can create a blank line. You can use a quick work, and you have here you'll have all your lines in the middle, and at the bottom here you'll have the details of your quote. So material, suppliers, and time. So this is a breakdown of what you've entered on your quote for all the sections above. Price change, if you actually do a price change on the quote, we'll get to that. If you actually give a rebate, it's going to show up there. Then you have the subtotal, you have the margin, and you have your taxes, applicable taxes if you have any, and the total at the end. You can change the tax name, tax numbers in your preferences. And finally, you have your pictures and files that you can add to your quote. So it's all in there. So let's do a simple quote using a quick work to make it really easy to get started. So click on the quick work. You have all your description showing up there. Let's do a pitched roof. It's gonna, copy everything in there. You can click and edit whatever text you want here. You can edit also the times that were used for the quick work. Again, you can add over and over as many lines as you want in your quick work, and it's going to be copied whenever you use it. So now we can either add some manual time manually. You can add some supplier manually. So a supplier is really a description, and then you can pick a supplier, or you can leave that blank, and a cost and a selling price, and if you want to create a purchase order. So the thing here is that if we put the supplier in that line here and you click on yes, it's gonna actually create a purchase order for you whenever the quote is won. So this is saving a lot of time. So like if you have a plumber or something like that, you add like the description as plumbing or something like that. You put a supplier which is one of your plumber buddy, and the cost is what is actually quoting you for the job, and then you take your margin on it in the selling price, and then whenever the quote is one, it's going to create a purchase order that you can send to your plumbing buddy. You can do also, profits and administration. You can put it in there. You leave the cost at zero. You put the selling price as your profit, and then you do not create a purchase order, and that's going to do the same thing. It's going to give you a profit of $2,000 or something like that. So this is quite useful to do a lot of stuff. Also, suppliers are used for anything that feels like a material but are not really. So if you have any renting, so if you rent a scaffolding, this is going in there. If you actually have a dumpster, this is going in there also. Anything that where the prices change over and over based on the project, this is where it's going. The materials are more standard price that you're going to use toward through all the application. So you can also add materials one by one. So materials here, you can define your material as being a real material that you buy at the store, or you can also define a material like a compound material, let's say, where you can have the time, I don't know, flooring, where you have the time, the materials, and everything for a total number, so that material will be can be used like that also. And finally, you have the assemblies, which I'm going to use right now. So if you want more information how the assembly work, you can go and look at the assembly video. But currently, the assembly I've done is calculating those four different results, and I can see those, and whenever I click save, it's gonna change the quote and update it with those values. And then, as you saw, I had 10 hours and now I have 30 hours because the assembly actually added 20 hours of time in there. I can change that. Maybe it's far away, so I'll add some time for the transport, and so I can change that whenever exactly how I want. So it's missing a lot of things for a real shingle roof, but I guess you get the idea. So you can do that. You can add as many section as you want. Maybe there's some attic insulation to do there. You can add that. You can define everything you want in there, and then afterward you'll see all the information here, where you have like the materials. Whatever is in light gray here is the costs. So the cost is in light gray. Why do we put it like that? Is like sometimes people do it on an iPad or a tablet in front of the customer. If the customer actually looks over your shoulder or something like that, he doesn't, it shouldn't scream, "This is the cost." This is the actual cost. So this is why it's in light gray. So here you see that the subtotal for the cost is about $3,000, and then we sell at 4,300 or something, and the gross margin here is about 30%, which is really good for that industry. So maybe we would like to be a little bit more competitive and maybe put that around 25% as gross margin. So what we can do is click on change price here, and you force a margin, let's say at 25. So it's going to do a price change to actually reflect and go to that margin. If you want to add a rebate, this is also where you put the rebate. So right now I'm going to leave that at 0. And if I save that, you'll see that the software actually calculated the price change of minus 100, about $200, and to reflect the 25% gross margin. And now we have a final price of that. So this is all good, all really neatly calculated. Now we can add some files. Maybe we can add files from the phone directly, taking a picture, moving on to the next picture. You can take the picture directly on the phone. You can use pictures you have already taken. So this is cool. If I click that, I can choose from my the ones I have locally. It's gonna load the picture. While it's loading, they're resizing and all that. I can add a description like I don't know, uh, something like that. That actual description is going to show up in the quote. If you want to have your pictures showing up in the quote, you just click on the little art in there. It's going to show up in the quote correctly, like that. And then you can actually, whenever your quote is completed, you can send that by email. So let's send that by email to our customer. We can attach other files. Maybe there's some bigger files that we need to attach. So we can attach that in there. You can change the text. This is the recipient here. You can have more than one. This is the email address that's going to be used for the from, so the reply to, and you can change all that. So if I send that, it's gonna ask you if you want to mark this as sent, and you click OK, and it's gonna mark it as presented in there. And whenever a quote is in the presented status, this is where the automatic follow-up goes on. If you want to have more information on automatic follow-up, please check the preferences walkthrough video. And then the quote is gonna appear here in sorry, the quote, the email is gonna appear here, and then you'll be able to see whenever it's sent, whenever it's delivered. So whenever it's delivered, it's gonna show delivered, and whenever it's someone actually sees the opens the email, it's gonna show up a little eye in there with the number of time the client, your client, actually opened the email. So the email is sent. What you can also do is sorry. What you can also do is have take a signature directly on your tablet. So if you go and have a look, this is what the customer you give over the tablet to your customer is going to show him everything like that. You can have more information showing up in there. Depends on your print preferences, but it's going to show up in there, and then you can sign it. So you put your name, and you can sign it as you like. It's better on it's better on an iPhone or iPad. So this is cool to do that on the directly from the tablet. If I cancel that, I can show you also what it looks like when you actually see it online. Let me just get that. So when you actually see it online, you the user, your customer actually sees the code like this online. He has the possibility to ask for a modification, reject the quote, or approve the quote. So directly online, and whenever he does one of those three actions, you'll receive an email saying, the customer XYZ approved your quote. Congratulations. So that's how it works for that. The Whenever you actually win a quote, you change the status here to won. That's gonna change the status of that quote to won, and the project also is gonna be changed from in quote to pre-work. So if you click on that, the project will change also, and your actual, if I close that, you'll have a work order created for you based on the quote and based on the time you've put in there. So I've put 35 hours showing up in there as 35 hours. I have all the materials I've added in there and the pictures I've added to the quote is completely copied over to the work order. So this is how the quote is created, and the processes that C-Cube gives you to actually move a quote from an open quote to a presented quote to one quote. So I hope that video was helpful. If you have any more questions, click on the little chat icon here, and our support team will be happy to help you with whatever questions you have. Have a good day.